Hello there, this is James and you're watching Tixee Live. In fact, you're watching Tixee Live Watch Along with the Canadian retail sales. Now, before we get into the Canadian retail sales and what it could potentially mean to the loonie, in other words, the Canadian dollar, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so yes, today I've decided to do a watch along of the Canadian retail sales month on month. It is due to be announced in about 8 minutes time. Okay, now what is Canadian retail sales? Why is it important to the market? Well, this is what it is. Okay, Canadian retail sales measures the change in the total value of sales at a retail level in Canada. It is key because it's a key indicator of consumer spending, pace of the Canadian economy, and consumer confidence. Now, usually how it works, usually this is sort of the standard sort of principle behind it, is if it comes in higher than expected, it could potentially be bullish for the CAD. If it comes in lower than expected, it could potentially be bearish for the CAD. Now, the expectation for this announcement is to come in at 1.6, which is a quite impressive increase, actually, because in March, okay, it was 3.3. Then it dropped in April to 0.2. May, it was 0.2, and June was 0.9. So a reading of 1.6 would be or should be considered pretty bullish, in particular, pretty positive. Now, there is one thing what I want to look at the loonie about as well, look at the CAD, okay, because I think Canada is bordering on a housing crisis. I mentioned this in a video I did a couple of weeks ago when I covered Canadian CPI. They are bordering on a housing crisis because, and it's a big thing for Canada because Canada actually has one of the largest home ownerships in the world. Is bigger than the United States and the UK. In fact, 70.6% own their own homes. So why is that a crisis, James? Why is that a problem? Well, the reason why I see this as being a bit of a potential issue is, don't forget, against the fight against inflation, the Bank of Canada has raised interest rates quite aggressively, and interest rates currently stand in Canada at 2.5. Don't forget, the last rate increase that the Bank of Canada did was 100 basis points. That's higher than all the central banks have done. So 100 basis points. The Americans have only done 0.75, but they did a whole 100 basis points. So they are being extremely aggressive. And of course, the problem with this is the higher the interest rate is more expensive to pay back your mortgages and your loans, etc. So when you've got such a large home ownership, you have a lot of people, a lot of the population under pressure with keeping up with their mortgage payments. So this is what I think is potentially bordering on a massive potential crisis. The other thing, of course, obviously, inflation is going to be a key factor in retail sales as well. So, like I say, my point with the housing crisis, yes, I think we're bordering on, but because of obviously the mortgage payments, how many people have got the loose change or the flexible cash to go and buy stuff? So that's going to be a factor. But the other factor, of course, is inflation. okay, which is currently at 6.2%. Yes, that's a lot lower than 9.4% in the UK and 9.1% in the United States, but still, that's the highest level since 1983. So again, how is this going to impact this reading? You know, how many people can afford to buy things, especially with very high mortgage payments? Now, the other factor to consider about this, and this is why I want to talk about it as well and watch it, is the CAD is a commodity currency. And it's strongly correlated with oil because they do have mass oil production. Okay, and of course we know that we've had extremely high oil prices over the last couple of months, in particular. In fact, 75%. This is why people look at the dollar CAD a lot, the loonie. 75% of Canada's exports, okay, between 2019 and 2020 went to the US. So this is why the dollar CAD is heavily, closely watched. And it can be actually quite dramatic. But anyway, let's have a quick look at some of the currency pairs I want to look and watch on this announcement. It's not just going to be the dollar CAD I want to look at. I also want to look at the sterling CAD, and the euro CAD has got my attention. So I want to look at that as well. So let's have a quick look at this. Let's start off with the euro CAD. Okay, euro CAD is currently trading. This is on a 30-minute chart at 1.31102. Okay, so this level here is a key level, and I'll show you why I think it's a key level. If you look at on a daily, though, we get a bigger picture of how the euro is performing against the CAD. And as we can see, it is indeed on a downtrend. And if you look on a weekly, okay, we can see it's trading just above levels not seen since May 2015. Since May 2015. So this is why I think this pair in particular is a key pair to keep an eye on, because I think it's really interesting. And I say that key level at the moment is trading just above it, 1.30873. The other pair I want to look at, obviously, is going to be the British pound, Canadian dollar. Okay. Now that, again, if we do it on a weekly, again, we can see not as slow decline like the euro against the CAD. We can see again the sterling is also under a lot of pressure against the Canadian dollar. So this is going to be an interesting pair to watch. And of course, the other pair we're going to be watching is, of course, the good old US CAD as well. Where do I put that? I moved it earlier on to get it all easy, but where did I put it? Let's look at the dollar CAD as well, because this is where I want to watch. Where is it? Let's have a look. Give me a second. This is embarrassing. I thought I had it already. There it is. It was right. I couldn't see it. Right in front of my face. So here's the dollar CAD. This is on a weekly as well. And as you can see, back from May onwards, the dollar was under quite a fair bit of pressure against the loonie. It's since bounced off a key level we were watching back in April. I don't know if those people who joined me back then, but it's bounced from that key level of 1.20034, and it's currently range bound at the moment. With a potential resistance area of 1.30873 and a support of 1.27883. So it would be interesting to watch this pair as this news is announced, which is about 30 seconds away. Again, I don't think this will be exciting as yesterday's watch along, but still, I have got an interest in this pair, particularly with, like I mentioned, this potential housing crisis. So let's watch and see what the announcement is. It should be due any second now. Sorry, throat's a bit dry. I don't know if I'm going to be yelling as loud as I did yesterday, but let's see. Let's have a look. Right any minute now. Okay, so it should be coming out it should be released any minute now. Let's have a look. Okay, it is out. All right. Okay, it's announced at 2.2%. 2.2%. So a lot higher than anticipated. 2.2% month on month. So that's actually shocking. That's a lot higher than expected. It's supposed to be 1.6, 2.2. That is a good reading. Obviously, the dollar CAD is not really moving that much, but that's okay. I really want to be more interested in the euro CAD, which, as you can see, it's got a slight reaction now. I really think this is going to be a key level to watch, 1.3873. Obviously, this is also before the US session has opened. So, okay, yeah, the cable is going to be weaker as well. But that is a good reading. That is a good reading. So be interesting to see how the market reacts when the US session opens in about an hour's time. So, yeah, there we go. 2.2. Wow, that is good. That is impressive. That is a good figure. That is a good figure. A lot better than anticipated. 1.6. So actually, if you look at it, like I say, March 3.3, April 0.2, May 0.2, June 0.9, but now 2.2. That is an impressive reading. So there we go. The Canadians are indeed spending their money. So good for them. So anyway, let's have a look in about an hour's time how the sterling and the euro is doing. And we'll keep a close eye on that then. Because I say we might see the market digest this and might make more of a move with Canadian dollar strength. But there we go. Well, that's it. 2.2. Good reading. So don't forget, of course, you guys can ask me questions anytime you wish, or simply say hello if you like. It's always a pleasure to interact and to have a chat. Anyway, don't forget, I'll be back online again in about just over an hour's time to cover the US session. We'll also discuss Twitter, okay? Because Twitter, now that's a very fascinating story to discuss. And plus a couple of other things happening in the market at this current moment and time. Plus, we'll do my usual, it's at the end of the week, my usual weekly wrap up. So, yeah. So please come and join me for that. Don't forget, if you're watching me on Facebook and you've liked this little episode, by all means, follow me if you like. If you're watching me on YouTube and you've quite enjoyed this episode, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. And remember, if you enjoyed this episode, found it interesting, put up with my over-the-top excitement, which I just cannot help because I love the markets, then give me one of these. It's nice to know that you're liking what I do. I said I've got one like already, which I really appreciate. Anyway, till next time, or till about an hour's time, remember, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I do suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.